at that.
Porchetta, one of the greatest gifts the Italians have given us. Give us just 90 seconds to show you how we smoke one and serve it up for dinner. First thing we do is zest our lemons and then give them a rough chop. Next, we pull the leaves off of our rosemary and we give those a rough chop as well. And then we do the same with our fresh sage leaves. And finally, we take our parsley and we bundle it up and we rough chop that as well. Then we take our garlic. Now be very careful because garlic could turn into a weapon. And then we skin the bulbs and rough chop them as well. And then last but not least, the fennel pollen. I was hesitant whether or not to use the fennel pollen, and I thought, well, it's authentic to certain areas of Italy, so I went for it. And man, I'll tell you, it is absolutely phenomenal. It makes a pork dish taste like I've never tasted a pork dish before. Not just in taste, but in aroma. Then we're gonna add about a tablespoon of kosher salt, and about a tablespoon and a half of black pepper, and this will help cut through some of the richness that's in the dish. Mix everything together, and as you can see, it's rough chop. We want that color, we want that visual in the pork. We want the oils to remain inside all of these flavorings so that it creates a deep and prominent taste in each bite of the porchetta. Next, we open up our porchetta. Now, when I ordered this porchetta, I was expecting a single slab. But when I got it, as you can see here, I've got three separate slabs. Let me make 3 separate porchettas. And that's what we're gonna do. So first thing, we're gonna lay the porchettas out. We're gonna get them dried up. And then what we wanna do is get as much surface area as possible to put our seasonings in. So the porchettas are very meaty, which is really phenomenal. A lot of times there's a lot more fat on a pork belly, but these are so meaty. So because of that, we're going to take the porchetta and we're actually going to split it open by cutting it down the center horizontally like we're doing here. Just get a very sharp knife, be very careful, it's not hard at all. What this will do is it'll open it up like a book, and then we'll be able to get additional seasonings in the pork, which will make for a very nice visual and also spread the flavors across the pork in general. So we open it up like this and then we'll score it. And all we're doing there is we're just scoring it just so the seasonings can get down a little bit further in the pork itself. And then we're going to repeat the process with the other 2 slabs of our pork belly. Now what you'll see me do is I'm going to roll the pork belly to see exactly where the skin overlaps. And as you'll notice, the skin overlaps before it meets up with the other side of the skin. So what we need to do is put a filler in. And out of all of the cuts of pork, the best substitute is the pork shoulder. And this is a pork butt. It's the upper part of the shoulder. And right where I'm focusing on there, the tip, that's the money muscle. That's where the most tender and most flavorful part of the pork shoulder comes from. So we're going to cut off a chunk, and then we're basically going to butterfly this just like we did with the pork bellies. This one's round, so it's a little harder. So we're gonna straighten out the edge here, and then we're gonna save that piece. So that's gonna go in one of the porchettas. And then we just take it and we just basically want to flatten it out. And the goal here is to make this large enough so that we can cut it into 3 separate pieces, 1 for each of the porchetta rolls that we're creating. So again, just very carefully with the sharp knife, go down, keep cutting. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get as much, again, surface area coverage as possible. So we got it laid out here, as you'll see, but it's not big enough yet. We're going to put some pretty deep scores in the meat here. And what that'll allow us to do is that will allow us to put pressure on the meat and separate it even more and spread it out even further. So a little trick for making your meats go a little bit further. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to get our pork bellies and we're going to measure to make sure that we can fit a chunk of this meat in each one of the rolls that we create. So we take our first pork belly and we measure it, and it looks like we can get about three of these chunks in each one of the pork bellies. So we take that, we measure it, we cut that off, and then that pork shoulder will go inside the porchetta when we roll it up. So now we take one of the slabs and we take that part of the pork shoulder that we cut out, we open it up, and it is very important that we heavily season all of the surfaces of the pork belly. You can pretty much not put on too much salt, but it is very important that all of the surfaces of the pork belly do get covered in a good coating of salt. And I'm using kosher salt here. I think that works the best from a milting perspective. And next we put our flavorings in. And then we spread that across the surface of the meat. We then fold our pork belly back up. Again, coat this side heavily with salt. And our seasonings, spread it out. And then we put our piece of the pork shoulder that we cut, so that the roll-up of our pork belly would have the 2 ends of the skin meet together nicely, and we season that as well. We repeat the process on the other 2 pork bellies. And that is the final product before the most challenging part of this whole exercise. That is rolling up the pork belly. So very carefully, just start rolling, roll it tight, and then the 2 ends of the pork skin should come together or be very close to coming together. And then you take your butcher's twine, you do a surgeon's knot, which is nothing more than a double knot on the first knot, tighten it, and then a single knot after that, and that will hold your pork belly together nicely. Cut off the remaining ends and repeat that process as often as you need to ensure the pork belly stays together tightly in a roll. One of the final phases, now that you have your pork belly rolled and tied, is to poke tiny holes with a sharp knife all over the skin. This allows for a couple of things to happen. Number 1, it will allow for the fat under the skin to drain out while cooking. And number 2, it will allow for the salt that we're going to put on here next to penetrate into the pork belly to provide additional moisture and flavoring. Now that we have all of our pork bellies rolled, we heavily season the skin, and what I would do differently next time is I would actually wet the skin a little bit so the salt adheres better. I didn't do that here, but I do recommend that you do that. And there's the final product. We put it in the fridge for 24 hours, and the next phase is the smoking. One of my favorite moments as a pitmaster is sitting out on my barbecue trailer late at night, watching the smoke billow out the chimney, contemplating how the meats will cook. Now that the dry brine has done its job, we insert our temperature probe and haul the pork bellies out to the smoker. All right, we are running a bit hot here, so this might not take as long as I thought, but let's see. You ready? I think I'm going to put it this rack here. It'll take on some good smoke. And actually, I'm going to turn it this way. And then we'll check in about 2 hours. Gonna check out, see how we're doing in here. Oh, look at that. Wow. Oh, that looks awesome. Crank the heat up to 500 and try to get that skin bubbly, which it actually is starting a little bit, which is great. That is good news. But, oh wow, look at that. Oh. Holy cow. We're only partially there, man. The next step is to get that thing crisped up. Difference between success and failure, baby. Put some oil on. Oven's cranked up to 500. Look at that. That's beautiful as is. I guess now the real test. There it is, 500 degrees. In it goes.
On the seams, yeah, check the seams right there. I saw a bubble on the
okay.
middle one. The
middle one?
Yeah.
Okay, this one here, look at the popping we got going on there. Baby, come on, baby. Look at that. Look at that left one. Moment of truth, baby. Let's see. Oh, look at that. 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 Oh, baby. Look at this. Oh. Success. We did it. We did it. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at that. Freaking work of art. Sorry. It is though.